So you saw that white jacket that Chris was wearing. Apparently, that white suit is given to the top producer at One America, and you can tell that he is tops in the game. Amazing stuff from Chris. Apparently, he's getting fitted for his second white jacket. So we've certainly been blessed to hear words of wisdom from Chris. And you can catch that in the chat. So make sure that you guys are doing that. I'm glad to see all of you bright-eyed people. Welcome back. I want to remind you that we're in listen-only mode. And that chat feature that I just mentioned is there for your comments and your questions. This session, like all of them, is fortunately being recorded and will be available on NAIFLA's Talent Development Center website. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to three amazing and highly successful financial professional women who happen to also be Black. These powerhouses delivered a popular session in February and are backed by popular demand. Kristen Eskew, business development executive at One Digital. Karen Holloway, a financial professional with Northwestern Mutual. And Mary Green, a financial professional with Prudential, help us to understand the challenges Black women face as advisors and the strengths they bring to the profession. Aloha, welcome, Kristen, Karen, and Mary. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Stephen, thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's an honor to be here, and I am so excited to be amongst these amazing women for a second time. As you said, back in February, in the spirit of Black History Month, we hosted a panel on the NAIFA platform about why the industry needs more Black female advisors. And so we spoke about things like tokenism and allyship. The ladies shared their experiences around building diverse teams and marketing to Black and Brown communities. And we sort of had this overall discussion around upward mobility and the role that the Black woman specifically plays in that, and why it's so important for us to be represented within the community or financial services. And so today is all about continuing that conversation. We received some great feedback and follow-up questions, but before we jump in, let me introduce our esteemed panelists today. First, we have Karen Holloway. Karen is from Montego Bay, Jamaica. She joined Northwestern Mutual in 2003 as a college intern and graduated from Florida Atlantic University with a BA in finance. She's driven to lead her clients toward their financial goals and comes from a banking background, making her ready to provide solutions for business owners, entrepreneurs, attorneys, and doctors facing unique financial challenges. When not goal planning, Karen can be found having fun with her husband and their dogs in West Palm Beach, Florida. Karen, welcome back to NAIFA. Next, we have Mary Kay Green. Mary began her career with Prudential in November in 2008 with the Chicagoland Financial Group. She had a very fast start and was named Rookie of the Year in 2009, and again in 2010, she was Sophomore of the Year. And that same year ranked as the top 10 financial professionals in the entire Chicagoland firm. In addition, Mary has qualified as a member of the $1 Million Roundtable 3 times, one of them being just last year. Outside of the office, she enjoys mentoring students. She is happily married and is the mother of 2 daughters, a stepdaughter, and has 2 beautiful grandchildren. Mary, welcome back. All right, ladies, let's jump into it. So on our first panel discussion back in February, one of the things that we talked about was sort of this historical skepticism and mistrust that many communities of color, especially Black people, have towards the financial services. And in that discussion, Mary, you sort of introduced this interesting concept around Black women being the gatekeeper, or women of color being the gatekeeper to their communities. And so I'm wondering, one of the questions we received was, for you specifically, Mary, how has being a Black woman helped you to create trust in communities of color?
Well, I think the first thing you have to understand is that African-American women, we're generally nurturing, and we're always taking care of our extended family. We're kind of like the go-to inside of the families, more or less. And so when you start thinking about, who probably has the most influence and power, inside of the Black community, you want to start looking at those African-American females who are absolutely who absolutely can help you make strides and get into the African American community and working with the families, the social organizations, the religious organizations, and even just the community at whole, because people are well known inside of their communities, from really way back in the day, when there was a grandmother, there was Big Mama, we called them, and there was the mother, there was your sister, your aunts. And so I remember how, my grandmother was from Mississippi, and we used to go down south per se in the summertime, but everybody knew who she was. If you say, well, I'm Miss Jessie's granddaughter, they knew exactly who I was talking about. So, the strength that we bring into our communities, it's huge, just huge in terms of looking at probably the influence that we wield, and not so much the power, but it's more of the influence that we have inside the community. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Karen, same to you. You are at the very least, right, a triple minority in the world, or double minority in the world of finance, Black female. So how has being a Black woman helped you to create trust in communities of color?
Being a Black woman, I believe the number one thing is just that people have certain mistrust reasons for whatever reason they may be. And I believe when they see me show up as a Black woman, it starts to help that. Even when I show up with other people who don't look like me, it helps bridge that gap and that trust that wasn't there before. So it helps others in the community overcome and at least start having that conversation, because before they even want to have that conversation, people want to know that you actually care. They don't care about what you know. They want to know that you actually care, that you have an understanding, and at least can connect with them on some ability. And from there, you could build from there. But if you're not able to do that, being a Black woman, of course, exposes me to some experiences that others may not have, or being from the Caribbean or wherever I am from, exposes some people. It helps cultivate that relationship over the long time and helps building on that trust.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Karen. And I think that even though you may have similar lived experience in this individual sort of, in with those communities, if you will, I think that our clients and prospects still want to feel like our companies are invested within the community as well. And so another question we received is, Karen, I'll start with you. Do you feel that your firm provides collateral and marketing material to connect the Black community, and or have you had to personally create anything specifically to brand yourself within communities of color?
Absolutely. They have poured tremendous, not only time to sit down and understand, but they've actually poured money into the communities, whether it was games or providing for different resources to give people either access to come to us, or we go into their communities and support whatever games they may have, or different urban youth impact, just different organizations here that are familiar with that community. We definitely pour into it largely, and they could see that. And as far as digital presence, they've been very intentional about who shows up on our digital presence, making sure that no one feels left out, that everyone feels a part of it and can actually picture someone else looking like them, or hear like them, or trust like them. That helps definitely. So I believe our company has definitely backed us tremendously.
Well, that's great. Mary, what about you?
Oh, yes. Prudential has done a great job at really upgrading our marketing over the years, and making sure that we have marketing collateral that reflects the communities that we serve. So especially for the African American community, we have a lot of different marketing pieces, such as brochures, postcards. We've got storyboards and things that that we can have to pass out. The other thing I want to share too is that forming strategic partnerships and relationships inside the community is also great. We have worked with the 100 Black Men of America. I have done work with the WNBA from the women's perspective. I've also done strategic work with the church that I belong to in the Chicagoland area. They've had career fairs. I've been able to hire a lot of individuals from the church that I went to because of the relationship, and also because of the fact that Prudential was willing to help me invest and build our brand inside the church, because it was a pretty large church that I belonged to in Chicago as well. We've done surveys on the African American community. We've been able to use that information from the surveys to help us walk into African American households and literally talk to them about some of the key issues that they pointed out as a way of building trust, and then helping them understand, that we understand what are some of the issues and problems of the African American community. We've also worked with the Coalition of 100 Black Women. That's an organization out there. And we've also partnered with the sororities, the fraternities as well. So I think being a part of Prudential as an African American woman, I've kind of helped them to understand, where we can become involved in our communities so that we can make a difference and people know that we are out there and we do care. So marketing is not just about the collateral and the pieces, it's about making inroads 100% inside of the communities.
Absolutely. I think what I'm hearing you both say is it's bigger than just putting Black and brown faces on this collateral, right? It's about walking the walk and investing time to gain your own experience within these communities. So sort of staying with this marketing theme, we got a lot of questions about COVID, and I mean, you can go on CDC's website and see the disparities between people of color and majority culture people and sort of what's been happening throughout this pandemic. Have you guys, and either one of you can start, well, Karen, I'll let you take us back over, but are you using any specific digital marketing or medium to make inroads to the Black community during the pandemic? Has anything changed for you?
I think with the Black communities, I've found that during the pandemic, more and more of them were on social media. Like, you have more time, you're there. That's the way that you connected with people. That's like your news or what's going on. That's how you connected with family, friends, just to see what's going on. So during the pandemic, we do have a social media outlet, Hearsay Social Media, that daily, at least daily, would post information relevant to what was going on and resources that they could definitely reach out or know that there's someone to talk to or where to find resources or where to get help, whether it was with stimulus, whether it was with pandemic or whatever was going on, taxes changes, access to money, how you could access different policies, how you could use existing assets that you have. So we were constantly sharing with everyone else, just downloading all this information, but we definitely had a social media presence. And even with that, I did receive tremendous reach from people on social media, just saying, hey, because of what you post, I have a question. People DMing me, asking questions. Hey, do I qualify? Am I eligible? So with that, and a friend told a friend, and it's share on social media. So someone would say, hey, I just spoke to Karen, here's her contact information. It just makes sharing so much easier and getting that information to others. So definitely, yes.
Okay. Mary, have you had to use any new digital marketing strategies to reach the Black community throughout this pandemic?
Oh yes, I learned how to use Zoom during this time period. Doing presentations and sharing, screen sharing. So definitely, was able to, I always say, upgrade, my skills because the pandemic, it can bring about pain or it can bring about opportunities. And so for me, it was an opportunity. I was connected with a really good, probably center of influence. And really 100% of my business went totally online. It was over the phone, and was able to do a lot of business across the country over the phone. And then I did host some webinars. I did one on understanding Social Security, and I think we had about 50 people that did attend it. And then I used Facebook as a way of creating an event to really kind of drive attendance, to some of my webinars as well. I work with an estate planning attorney, and the pandemic was a great time to talk to everyone about getting their affairs in order, in lieu of all of the changes with healthcare. So we did a lot of Zoom meetings over this time period to work with clients and helping them to get their trust done, getting their wills and things in order, and just educating the African American community in general about, what a crucial time it was, and making sure that our estate planning affairs are in order. So I really kind of took my business on to the next level, during this time period. And it definitely paid off. And again, just learning some new skills, learning some new strategies. And of course, you've got, hearsay and the social media strategy as well, that we use here at Prudential. Mm-hmm.
And I think that you guys mentioned that we've all had to adapt to, no matter, what we look like or what seat that we sit in. So that's great.
Yes.
And it kind of leads into sort of what I feel like is sometimes the elephant in the room when we talk about this. I know your stories. You guys are very passionate about your cultures, your communities, and you love doing work in that space. But just because you're Black women, it doesn't mean that you're only of value to Black clients. And the same to be said, the other way. It's not that all Black clients are only looking for a Black advisor, right?
Right.
So sort of staying with this marketing conversation, because we got a lot of questions there. How do you brand yourself as a resource in the Black community without pigeonholing yourself as only being able to work with the Black community? Karen, let's start with you. I know that you've seen, your client base is pretty mixed. You've seen ebbs and flows, some of it sort of based on social events that happened last year. Can you kick us off with this one?
Your point, we may all look different, but our goals and problems are very similar, right? Mm-hmm. So whether no one was isolated last year, everyone was going through something, somehow, some way. So what I did find is that with our marketing approach, we were very relevant to whatever was going on. So markets were dropping, whether the markets were rising, whether people needed more coverage for their family, it was not targeted to any one person and how they looked. So the information was very relevant. We marketed. We didn't say, hello, African Americans, hi, white Americans or Caucasians. We just said, if you're facing XYZ, we have a solution for you. And of course, my picture appears on the marketing, but it was not fitted to where you're anyone. And people receive that messages, whether they were young, old, older, white, Black, or from, they were able to identify with the message that was being asked and was able to follow up with me. So the marketing stayed the same because we kept it. What is the problem in our community right now? What are people facing? Mm-hmm. And fortunately and unfortunately, everyone was facing the same thing. So we were all having the same discussion and trying to find out how is it impacting you good or, and then met each where they were and build from there.
That's great. That's great. So Mary, same to you. How do you brand yourself without pigeonholing your business as to being an advisor that can only help people who look like you?
Well, I look at the fact that, first of all, I'm an advisor first. And then second of all, I happen to be a Black woman. And so when you look at, everyone is looking at either we've got similar goals or we've got similar problems which present opportunities for us to help with. So I think you have to look at it and say that we want to help everybody. And that's how I always brand myself, as being a person who wants to help everybody or anybody that needs help. And if I can help them out, that's exactly what I'm willing to do. I think naturally, we're going to be, naturally African-American clients are going to probably look at us first, because sometimes that's what their preference is. But I think other, clients look at us as well, and a lot of them don't see any color. So I don't market myself, any different way in the African-American community that I would market myself, to another community. And I have clients that are Caucasian. I've had Caucasian men, women. I've got Asian clients. I've got Hispanic clients as well. But my goal as an advisor is to do the very best that I can for every client. And when I first got started in the business, and even now, I tell a client, I don't care if you got $5, I don't care if you got $5 million, I'm still going to treat you the same. and that's your money, and we're going to be good stewards over your money, but we're going to do the very best that we can do for you because we want you to succeed, financially, is how I look at it.
That's great. I think whether everyone realizes it or not, we all are much more alike than we are different, and we need the same things.
Mhm.
So thank you, ladies.
Absolutely.
So I want to turn the conversation. I know you're both very humble, but the truth is you're trailblazers, whether you realize it or not. And Karen, I know when you first entered the business, from your story, you were the only Black female in your office. And so what was it that gave you inspiration and then confidence to pursue these uncharted waters?
I didn't even know I was pursuing uncharted waters. I'm literally coming from Jamaica. When you're in Jamaica, all you hear is America is the land of opportunity. So when you get to America, it's up to you to pursue that opportunity. So when I got here, math was my favorite. I've always excelled in math. I love numbers. I love running a business. Saw my dad, mom run a business. So that's always gets me going. I just love talking deals, having conversations, and problem solving. So immediately when I came into the office, I stood out naturally because either they were like, Karen, what are you talking in the office? And I'm like, I'm talking Jamaican. I'm talking to my mom, right? So that got them to like either or something about me. I wasn't shy. I showed up bold who I was. I didn't know I was supposed to be anyone else. So I think people really gravitated to that and love that energy that's the office. And then I was there to learn from them too, because they were extremely successful at what they were doing. And I love the conversation, just eavesdropping, seeing the problems that they were solving, the things that they were making done for their clients and for their families. And I'm like, I'm at the right place. My family needs that kind of financial security. We've never had that conversation in our house in Jamaica. All the conversation we have ever had is what bills we're not going to pay, how we're going to make it. Hey, Karen, can you go next door, ask someone if
I don't know if it's just me or if she's frozen. Mary, can you hear her?
No, Karen's frozen.
All right, Karen, you're freezing up a little bit, but we loved what we could hear, and I'm sure you had amazing things going on there. Yeah. But I'm gonna turn it over to Mary on that note. So Mary, same for you, trailblazer. You're a career changer, right? You already had a successful career, so this answer may be a little different, but what gave you the confidence to come in as a minority and be successful in this business?
I guess I wasn't really thinking myself, as a minority, I guess, when I first came into the business. I looked at it and said that this was a business that I knew that I wanted to be in. I don't know how or what was the exact point or what was a lightning rod for me. I just knew, one, I wanted to be in this business. And second of all, I knew I wanted to help people. Those were the two things. And the first thing of it is that I knew that if I help people get what they want, then I would get what I want out of it, which was really, I was looking for a challenge, number one. And I was looking for satisfaction of being able to help people out no matter where they were at that point in time in their financial life, is what I just knew that. And so I spent my whole first year really learning the business. I just focused, asked a lot of questions. I listened to people. I was fortunate to have some really good individuals in my life who mentored me, in this career. And they introduced me to a lot of individuals, and they were not necessarily at Prudential. I was introduced to a lot of people outside of Prudential, African-American females and males who were very successful in the business. And we are still friends to this day, very good friends. And so they would just give me any advice or any questions and things, that I needed to get from them. And I was introduced to people inside of our firm. It was interesting too. We have a very diverse firm, and we have a lot of female advisors. They're Asian females, Caucasian females. We didn't have very many African American females, but what I would do is literally like make friends with those ladies, and I would talk to them, and I would ask them questions, and I would listen to them, and they just became, probably that role model inside the firm that I needed. And today we still talk about, with each other, how much we admire each other from a distance, but also up close and personal. But the whole thing for me was that I just knew that I wanted to help people. And I remember one time I met with a client. She told me she had two daughters. She had no life insurance. So I met with her, got all her information, and then I went back and I gave her the information and said, hey, here's a recommendation. But I remember she said, well, let me think about it. And I remember going home, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night and said, I've got to call her tomorrow and tell her you need to make a decision because you don't have any life insurance and you've got these two daughters, and I don't want anything to happen to them. And we could have eliminated this situation if you just made your decision, if I prompted you to make this decision a lot quicker, and we get everything done. So I called her the next morning and we got it done. I mean, we absolutely got it done. And I could relate to where she was because I was a single mom and I just didn't want anything to happen to her because I didn't want anything to happen to my girls and I didn't have things in place. So we got it done. But she understood why I was trying to help her. It was really about making sure those girls were going to be taken care of should something happen to her. And that has always been my reason for being in this business, is to help people. It's not about how much money I can make or the awards that I win or, if my name is going to be written, on a plaque, but it is going to be when that person leaves here and I take her family a check, that they'll know that we did the right thing, for that particular family. And that's why I do it.
Yes, that's great. It sounds like you've always had a hold on your why, Mary, and it's probably been, a confidence booster for you too. And it sounds like you both entered with, not seeing the barriers, but I have to say for me, it was different. I mean, I struggled with a lot of imposter syndrome coming into this industry, and I didn't believe that I belonged. I mean, straight from the interview process, I saw two people of color. Both were females. One was a janitor working the entire building that I saw in the stairwell. And then the other was answering phones at the front desk. And I didn't have any trailblazers or role models. And so I probably was a little slower to find my stride. And then I realized that the things that make me, or that I thought I should be insecure about, and not just the, the things that make me different that are physical, but I would consider myself to be more of a creative and in this analytical industry. But I realized that those things were actually my superpower. And so we've got a question from a NAFA member, and they'd like to know, what do you two think your superpower is? Karen, I'll start with you.
My superpower is the way I make people feel. I'm great at building relationships. I'm great at cultivating. I'm very caring at heart. And that comes across. People can genuinely. So everywhere I go, I make friends. I make friends wherever I go. I walk in any room. And if you're not my friend, you're going to be my friend. And I think that's my superpower. I think that I put people at ease and I make financial planning fun to talk about. And, clients always tell me, oh, that's what it is. Oh, I never understood that. So my gift from the good Lord is teaching, and I know how to just take things to the basic of the basic, and I know how to come into your world and draw comparisons or analogies, whatever I need to do to enter your world so that you could understand it. And by the time I'm done, own the knowledge that I have, transfer it into you, and it's yours, and you're going to run and tell your friends and families, hey, this is what I learned. You're going to own it. So that's my superpower, just very good at listening, asking questions, challenging my clients, and being their biggest cheerleader when it comes to financial planning.
That's great. You definitely attract people because you're my new bestie. I'm just saying. And you too, Mary. But Mary, what is your superpower?
My superpower is probably similar to Karen's as well. But I think what I hear the most from my clients is that I educate them. I really take complex concepts and break it down to them and then make them really understand it, at a very, very minute level is probably one of the things I would say. And the other thing too is that I treat all my clients like their family. Literally, they're like family. I don't care who they are, from that standpoint. But I will treat them like they are like a cousin or an aunt or some family member, and they really love that, and they know I care about them. And most of them probably all have my phone number. I haven't changed my number in years and years and years, and they know how to find me. If I'm on vacation or if I'm at home or whatever, they will shoot me a text. They'll give me a funny story, or they'll say, hey, this happened, and things of that nature. So I think it's the relationships that I build as well that has served me very, very well, from the doctor to, the little college student who's coming out and, they want to start to get their financial plan together. And making people feel like they are worth something, that they don't have to be a Bill Gates, or they don't have to be the next Oprah, but, this is my little pot that I'm trying to build, and you're going to help me get there, And then I love looking 10 years down the road, like my clients now, I look back when I started, in the business here 13 years ago, and I see how far, we've come. And I think about how they trusted me initially. And now I look at like, this is where we've arrived at, today. And so sometimes I just say to clients, if you just trust me, I know I'm going to get you to the finish line. Why? Because I've already gotten several clients, to the finish line. So, those are the superpowers I think I have.
You do.
But I think, you know, it's all about the people that we serve, and we have to have a servant's attitude, that
That's
we're
right.
serving you.
That's
Mhm.
right. So you're both authentic, you're both confident, you both know your superpowers. And I know from our prior discussion that allyship showed up greatly and really helped with all of that for both of you. And so we talked
Mhm.
about, what makes a good ally. But one of the follow-up questions we had is, what advice would you have for someone who doesn't identify as being a part of majority culture at their firm, or whatever their company is, right? And
Mhm.
they don't have a good ally. They can't find one. So what advice do you give them? Karen, I'll start with you.
Seek and you shall find. Know what you're looking for in one. Once you've identified so when I came, I knew what success looked like. I know who I wanted to at least aspire towards. And I would go to their door. I would seek them out, because sometimes people it's not you, it's not personal. They're just busy running to taking care of their
Mhm.
own things, right? So sometimes it's actually an honor to them that you would even think of them,
Mhm.
that you would even go to them and approach them. So I would encourage whoever, we're in the business of always meeting and at one point dining with each other, reach out to that person, let them know why you thought of them, what you admire, and mutually upfront, just tell them what you're expecting and see if that's something that they're willing to meet. But if not them, there's always the next one out there. I would reach out to people within my office, in another office, across state line, at another company, but they're just in the financial
Mhm.
industry. Like Mary said, we're all in this business together. It's not like, oh, another company doesn't know what life insurance is or long-term care. We all speak the same language. We've been through the same educational system. So I would find that person and I would reach out to that person. And if not them, 10 other person, and whoever responds, it's just prospecting. That's what our business is find that person that would eventually do that for us. In the meantime, just keep showing up for ourselves and take it from there.
That's great. And I think what I'm hearing you say too is, even if you don't have an ally right off the bat, you can find community even outside of your firm, like you both have, I have, and that can be just as powerful. So Mary, I'd like for you to give some feedback on the same topic. What advice do you have for someone looking for an
Mhm.
ally that is struggling?
Well, I would say some of the same things that Karen has said, within your firm, but also outside your firm. The other thing too is that, back in the day, there wasn't a LinkedIn. There's LinkedIn now that you can connect with, different groups, different organizations, to help you find, allies, in the business as well as outside of the business, because in our business, everybody knows the industry and things of that nature and the skills and things that we need. But outside the business too, there are particular industries that require some of the same skills that you can have people that will help you grow some of those particular skills as well. And then the other thing that I would say too is that, building those relationships, whether they're in the firm or outside the firm, are really going to help you, especially when you go through a tough period in your career and you just need somebody, to be able, to talk to, from that particular standpoint. And then don't be afraid to build outside of your organization. Prudential is a pretty good sized company, but I've built relationship at the headquarters where people know who I am. I've built relationships, in the field, so you have to build it across organizations as well. And then having people that can advocate on your behalf, whether they are part of your intimate circle or part of your, professional circle, those are the individuals that they're going to bring the most value to you the most though. But I don't know, I have found that I probably have a good mixture of friends and a good mixture of people that have been able to, again, to just help me along in my career, whether it's, communicating effectively or thinking strategically, or what do you think about this? So, but I think a well-rounded group is really going to be key, to your professional strength as well.
I love what you say about that internal networking. That is absolutely huge. And truthfully, to me, an ally is someone who is going to they have a seat at the table. They're going to put their name out there for you. Sometimes that takes time. I would say be a little realistic too. Maybe your ally starts as a mentor, right? You have to prove yourself to some degree. And so, yes, ladies, thank you for sharing. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So I want to wrap with 2 questions that I think will sort of bring it all together. And I think we've done a good job about shedding some light on some of the inequities that exist, within our financial services community for women of color, and then also in our local communities. But I want to talk also about some of the opportunity that financial services brings to Black women and women of color. And so in our last session, you guys shared with us what brought you into the business. Karen, you started as a college intern. Again, Mary, you were a career changer. But we had a question around what has kept you in the business. And so, Mary, can you please kick us off?
Sure. What has kept me in the business is probably my customers, the clients and the people that I have met along the way. Sometimes I tease them. First of all, I'm a little bit older than what I look. And then the second thing, I always, I tease them sometimes about, maybe it's time to retire or do something different. They're like, nope, not yet, not till you get me, to the finish line or wherever it is. And, but I think it really has to do with the clients and the level of service, that we provide to them, and the relationships that we have created, over the years. And now, do I have bad days? Oh, sure. You have bad days where you think about, like, I don't know why I'm still doing this, or, maybe I need to go find something else to do, because maybe you're having that moment where you're thinking like, there's so much going on, and, you're trying to work through, all the compliance and the regulation and your customers' demands. And, you're just trying to keep all your, your balls in the air and keep them going. But at the end of the day, when I get a thank you note, from a customer, or if I get something that I was working hard on for a client and it finally goes through, you know what I mean? That life insurance policy you've been working hard to get approved. Or, you've got a client and they were in this predicament and now they're in this better place. So that's my inspiration, really, to keep going, to continue to solve the problems that exist financially in people's lives, whether they created it or, the environment created or something or circumstance. But that's probably what keeps me going the most. I get up in the morning thinking about, what difference can I make in the lives of my clients today is what I usually think about.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Mary. Karen, what about you? Despite any of the barriers you may have faced as someone who's not of majority culture in our industry, what keeps you in the business?
Like Mary said, it's really the relationships. You started this business not having as much friends as you do. And just looking back, I've cultivated relationships with so many people from
Mhm.
different backgrounds. It's exciting to see my clients getting married. I saw a client today, someone put a ring on her finger. So I'm reaching out like, congrats, who's the lucky guy? So it's all those excitement of the plans stay the same, the goals stay the same. Those are like it's second nature to you. Okay, you want to retire here. The kids are going to go to school when. Those stay the same. The numbers are the numbers, but what brings everything to life and makes it just so fun to look forward to is that person that you're going to talk to, knowing where they came from. And now 5 years later, 10 years later, they thought this wasn't possible. They thought they wouldn't be able to save. They thought they wouldn't be able, they thought $1 million then was a lot of life insurance. Now they're like, Karen, I need more. So just seeing those different
Mhm.
um, changes over time. And I'm a planner by nature. I love tracking. I love goal planning. So I love to
Mhm.
see the seeds that I plant. I like to see that tree grow over time. I like to see that, and I'm here to water it. And I'm like Mary, there's good and bad days. The business is the same, but it's just me needing to take some time away to rest. But it's still exciting to show up for people and see their goals come to reality. I enjoy that part of the business very much.
That's great.
Mhm.
That's great. So last question, ladies, and you kind of touched on part of this, but Karen, what would you ultimately like your legacy to be for your clients, which you kind of touched on, or your family, community, otherwise?
I'm living it, girl. I'm living my legacy right now. my my family are so much better off than they've ever imagined. And I would like to thank God for 90% of that, and maybe 99% of that. And a tiny bit, I had something to do with it. And those were all the decisions that I made head on to be into this business, to have control over every decision that I have, my time, how often I spend with my family. And because it means so much to me, knowing where I'm coming from, I want to give that to other family members. And it's so reassuring to me already just being able to see that had you not called, had you not had that conversation, had that time that person said, Karen, you're a bugaboo, stop calling me. Later on, now you're BFFs, or I was hiding from Karen, to see all of that now turn into genuine relationships. That is meaningful for me, that I'm able to live to see actually what we've put in place, the discussions that we've had, the planning sessions, to see you actually implement that. I'm able to say, all right, someone is going to college because of a conversation that I had with mom and dad, and they started to put away money in a 529, and they're calling me, hey, Karen, it's freshman year, we need tuition paid. Please distribute X amount of money to me. Or sadly, being able to see one of my clients who were 30 something, mother of three, pass away, leaving all her three kids, but able to know that they're better off because of the planning mom did. That's the
Mhm.
legacy I live for.
Wow. Your clients are lucky to have you, Karen.
Lucky to have them.
Yes,
Mary, you'll close us out with the same question. What would you like for
sure.
your legacy to be for your clients and or your family?
So for my clients, I want my legacy to be to them that I left them better than I found them. When they come to us, they're in one way, but when they have left me, they're in a whole different way. And that I have absolutely, helped them to make all of their goals and their dreams come true, for their families. And I'm like Karen, I've seen my clients through some of the best of times, and I've seen them some of the worst of times as well. But at the end of the day, when they look back on it, they will say that, yep, Mary was there, and here's what she would say to me now, if she had the opportunity to say, if I wasn't, if I wasn't around. But that's what I would like to leave, for my clients, that legacy, that they're in a better place because of me, and because of God giving them enough, guidance and direct them towards me, and Him working through me to accomplish what He wants me to accomplish for their lives. And then but my legacy for my family is that they're going to be in a better place also. because of the hard work, but because of the love and the passion I have for my clients, that I was able to turn it into some things financially for our family. And not only for my family, but we've been able, to create, my husband and I have been able to create our legacy that lives on throughout the generations for, my kids and my grandkids. And they can look up one day and say, this is what mom and this is what Grammy did in order for us to live the way we live today, that she worked hard and cared about people, from that particular perspective. But yes, I'm like Karen, my family's absolutely, we're in a better place. We're probably living some of our best lives right now. We don't have any worries or things like that. And God has been good to me over the years, especially in this career. And so I thank God every day that I can get up and that He's allowed me to make a difference and serve my communities, not just because I go to church or whatever, but I can serve them through what I do every day. And it's a reflection on Him and His goodness that He demonstrates to me in my life, and I can pass it on.
Well, Mary, I'm going to throw an amen on that as we close. Your families are fortunate, your clients, this industry.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been an honor.
Yes, thank you, Kristen. It's been an honor, and thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
both.
All of you, Kristen, Mary, Karen, you guys are just amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your colorless mindset and reminding us that it's our actions and reactions that we're in control of, that we got to find our guides and champions, our tribe, as it may be, to break through with our superpowers. And thank you for sharing your superpowers with us today. You guys are fabulous. I can listen to this all day long. Our final session of the day with Neenu Sharma on ensuring a diverse workforce begins at 3:00 Eastern. So until then, take a moment to refresh yourself in preparation for a great finale to an amazing day. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am.